Hello and welcome to The Kit Locker, a podcast of Black Site Media. Continuing with our review of reference photos of the SAS SP team, we're moving now into the latter part of the 90s from around 1997 onwards. The first picture we have here shows some interesting differences from the kit we've seen previously in the early 90s. The assault suit still appears to be the standard blue GD Specialist assault suit. At this period, if you find these assault suits second-hand, you'll notice they're slightly different in that the upper arm ID tag window that usually features on these suits has been removed and replaced with just a plain square of olive green Velcro on either arm. Possibly this suggests that the ID tags were Velcro backed at this period and could just be clipped on for easy removal and changing. The other main difference in this era is that we see a move towards what we collectors call the Mark III assault vest. Very similar in terms of design, an ops waistcoat laced at the sides, but a somewhat more robust, thicker design in these suede vests, sometimes known as pigskin vests. And you can see the configuration has some similarities and some differences. The two chaps on the right of the picture you can see are wearing the vest, and there's a black aircrew knife patch instead of what you would have had with the previous Mark II vest, a green aircrew knife patch. You do sometimes find these Mark III suede vests with green aircrew knife patches as well. But the main differentiating feature that you can see here on the vests is, instead of on the front abdominal part of the vest, pouches for the fire axe and grenades, these have been replaced entirely with leather shotgun shell loops. And so you can see those chaps there have these on both sides of the vest. The chap who's second from the left, you can see his communications setup appears to show the CT401 press-to-talk button by Davis Industrial Communications, which comes with a host of ancillaries such as plug-in earpieces, throat mics, connectors for internal respirator microphones, and so on. The belt kit being worn in this pic is that supplied by Paul Evers. That's Holsters International that was working out of Bootle in Merseyside at the time. The belt is what's called the Type 47 Special Forces belt. This is a streamlined form of thick bridle leather belt, a pistol belt, heavy duty, which could accept a holster, obviously for the sidearm, the SIG 226 at this period, and on the opposing thigh you would have the MP5 mag pouches, usually of an open design with elastic retention straps. Similarly, a smaller version of that pouch for pistol magazines. But the Type 47 belt, a very good design, which secures itself with both Velcro and with a Sam Browne stud, which can clip into the adjustable holes on the belt to suit the user. An interesting feature of this picture is the chap on the far right of the picture. If you just pan down to his left leg, the right as we are looking at it, you can see his leg strap features the pistol magazine holder. But just to the left of the pistol magazine holder is what appears to be the body of a blue training grenade. This would be the Nico flashbang grenade, which starts to come in during this period. This next picture seems to show perhaps the same team or a team contemporaneous with the previous picture, with a few interesting other features. You can see that a few of the troopers are holding helmets, which to my eye look to be AC 900 helmets, which are a distinctive lightweight design of the NP Aerospace series of ballistic helmets, an improvement on all the previous slightly clunkier helmets like the AC 200. The vest again is the Mark III type vest that we saw in the previous picture, and again the standard primary weapon is the MP5. Again here unlike the early 90s, the illumination system has moved on. And it's commonly thought by many people that the standard weapon illumination was the Surefire light in a custom handguard by Surefire, the so-called L60 lamp bezel, which screwed into the MP5 handguard. But we haven't seen actual evidence of that from available reference pictures. They were something that was commonly available, and a lot of people use them in representing the SAS in this period in the 1990s, but we don't actually see many pictures of them being used. What was used is, as we've covered in one of our main videos, this customized setup, which featured a torch very similar to the Surefire torch, but made by Laser Devices, a company from California, which fits the standard Surefire MP5 handguard, but it also comes in tandem with an attached laser, a red dot laser module, which is wired to the main body of the torch, and the laser module fits into the cocking tube of the MP5. So you've got both options available, and the MP5 handguard that comes with it, as we've shown in our main video, can activate either the torch or laser independently or together. Another feature here that you can see is that the troopers appear to be still using the S-series respirators, and they are wearing aircrew gloves. Here they appear to be perhaps black gloves. Again, sometimes it's difficult to tell from the tone of the reference pictures that we get. And also you can see some of these chaps, particularly the man kneeling in the front of the group, have got the distinctive bungee for mounting a Remington shotgun. You can see those white bungee straps over his shoulders there, and just on the right, as we look at him, on his left, you can just see a Remington 870 shotgun hanging down there. Again, boots, it's always a bit difficult to tell with some of these pictures. They're not particularly sharp, but you can see the man on the far left of the picture kneeling. He does have what appear to be Adidas GSG9 boots. Again, a popular lightweight boot, quite supple, probably very good and cushioned for running in and doing these kinds of dynamic intervention operations. But again, as I've said previously, prone to getting shredded quite quickly. The actual makeup of the boot is quite lightweight trainer type leather, and the soles, as I say, are prone to rotting away, but nonetheless a comfortable boot to wear. And this next picture features a man known to many people following and interested in the SAS, a chap called Melvyn Downs, who appears in various videos on YouTube, in Interview, and he has his own channels as well. And he is again wearing this standard sort of setup here in what looks like a relaxed moment, perhaps in between a training episode. He's got the standard GD specialist suit on with the ID tag window on the upper arm, and just tucked in behind what looks like a Siloam stick that's in the little pouch that comes on those suits as well. He's got a SIG 226 sidearm there in the holster, and it appears that it's got a lanyard attachment to the belt, and interestingly also on the belt, on his back there, he's got a respirator pouch, or what looks like a respirator pouch. Interesting to see that. You do see it in pictures at the Iranian embassy siege, and then it sort of disappears for a bit in the 80s and 90s, but his personal preference is to have a respirator haversack there on the back of his belt, which could be good for using as a dump pouch for containing medical kit or grenades perhaps. Again, if anybody knows, if Melvyn knows, feel free to let us know. And another slightly more detailed picture of Melvyn Downs here in the equipment typical of this time, with the Mark III suede assault vest, a Rakel Cougar fist mic on the left side of the vest there, and he's got a S-series respirator with the L12 style, the later plastic canister in his helmet there, tucked under his arm. He's got green aircrew gloves on, and you can see he's got, again, he's got the MP5 with this laser devices weapon light system, similar to the Surefire light, but not quite the same, which seems to have been a custom item for the regiment to suit the more widespread adoption of red dot lasers in this period. Interesting point to note, on his pistol magazine there you can see some red tape around the magazine. Again, like with the MP5 magazines, possibly a designator of team affiliation. Again, we're always ready to stand to be corrected if anybody knows differently about this. This next picture appears to show a training for a shipboard assault, and these chaps here could well be SAS or SPS, perhaps. My inclination is to think that they might be SAS. The interesting features in this picture are the variety of helmets being used here. You can see the AC900 helmet is being used by the chaps on the right-hand side of the picture. The one kneeling at the right and the one looking up the stairs look to have the AC900 style helmet, which has come in at this time. The man on the left is wearing the old AC200 style helmet, and he's wearing it with a three-hole balaclava there, interestingly not needing to wear a respirator, although you can see these chaps, particularly the man on the right, have got respirators that they can have clipped with a carabiner onto their assault vest, which seems to be a popular arrangement at this time. The man on the left, again kneeling, you can see there that he has got a pistol, a SIG 226, and he's got an interesting holster there. I think we've shown this in one of our main videos. There was a period where there was an introduction of pistol weapon lights, and this would be the Surefire 632 light, again, which we've showed. And a complementary holster by Paul Evers, Holsters International, is made for that. It's a slightly unusual shape to people familiar with more standard holsters, and gets confused with being some sort of a left-hand holster. But actually it has a sort of a, if you like, a slightly fatter back end on the holster to allow you to holster a weapon with a Surefire pistol light on it. These chaps have got some communications assistance here in the form of the man on the right of the picture. If you see the ID tag on the upper arm of his assault suit, you can see it's a blue tag with the letters YOS on it, which I understand stands for Yeoman of Signals. And on his assault vest he appears to have a pouch on the back which contains what I'm assuming would be some sort of Rakel Cougar radio, perhaps a repeater system, or a just a larger radio that can be carried by one man as a man pack. He also has the smaller Rakel Cougar under his arm. Again, we're not quite experts on communications and how it all works, but this suggests he is a dedicated signaller. You can see that the belt kit is still the leather Paul Evers style belt kit on the chap at the front there, and you also notice that he's got slightly different boots, perhaps again not necessarily an issue boot in black. It looks perhaps maybe could be a commercial walking boot, whatever's comfortable to train in. And because this is a maritime training scenario, you can see that the assault suits being worn appear to be dry suits of a kind, possibly made by a company like Typhoon, who are notable for supplying that sort of stuff. Again, I'm not particularly familiar with waterborne operational equipments, and again that means this also could be a cross-training with the SBS, or it could just be the SAS's own boat troop training for this particular time of maritime scenario. The boots that are being worn here, not completely easy to identify, although it looks like the chap on the right possibly has the Matterhorn Fort Bragg boots. They have quite a sort of robust outline on them, and the man on the left has something that I can't quite identify. The man on the right, the yeoman of signals, I should just add, you can also just see peeking out from under his helmet, he has a CT300, that's a Davies Communications headset. That's a set of wired ear defenders which also feed a line back into the radio as well. This next picture appears to show what Jason would call a level 2 entry, i.e. going upstairs by assault ladders that you can see here. A broad assault ladder on the left of the pic there, and another slightly narrow one on the right. And these chaps are heading up to the first floor window, and the equipment is again in line with what we expect at this time. The Mark III assault vest is coming in. You can also see the helmets being worn here, although it's not completely distinct from the picture, appear to be AC200 helmets. There is a kind of swap over in this period, and as people head towards the probably more preferable AC900, a lighter weight, slightly more comfortable helmet, a slightly different suspension system to wear for long periods. The belt kit here still appears to be leather belt kit by Paul Evers. Interesting feature on the man on the right of the picture on the single width ladder is that he possibly has what looks like a small sledgehammer slung over his shoulder there, just hanging down on the left. And there's a chap going up the ladder just to his left with what appears to be a respirator haversack on the back of his belt. This next picture features what looks to be a training scenario taking place on a coach, and you can see assault ladders being used for troopers to ascend into the coach via the window. The interest in this picture comes from the chap in the left centre of the picture, who appears to be holding a ballistic shield up. It's got a green cover on it. Again, could be an armour shield type of affair that we've had featured in one of our main videos. And he is holding up his sidearm, which appears to be a SIG 226, with a weapon light attached, as we've discussed previously, which goes with a custom Paul Evers holster made for this purpose. Interestingly, the helmet he has on appears to be the AC900 helmet, which would make sense at this time, and he has the GD Specialist Nomex suit on with a red team tag attached to his upper arm with a Sialoom stick poking out of the pocket behind there. On his helmet there appears to be an olive green strap of some kind, something which I'm more familiar seeing in pictures of soldiers in what you call green army, I suppose, scenarios. I'm not quite sure of its purpose here. And again, as we're always open on the Kit Locker to hearing from our audience, if you know better than us, please let us know in the comments what the strap might be for on the helmet. This next picture is quite interesting in that it appears to show a bit of a transition point for some of the equipment. It looks like a training scenario where somebody is being stretchered out after having a bit of a bad time. The equipment is varied between the two soldiers pictured. On the left we have a soldier wearing the GD Specialist assault suit with the window for the IT tag on the upper arm, and on the right the chap at the back has the green Velcro patch indicating perhaps it's slightly later in this period where they're using Velcro ID tags. But the main feature of interest is the vest. It appears to be, although the picture is a little indistinct for my eyes, this is the emergence of the ISP vest, the International Safety Products vest, and this is a mesh and nylon vest with Velcro panels to allow you to add and configure pouches in different arrangements, which can be just slapped onto the vest and hooked together. We've had a look at this vest in some of our main videos. The first iterations of this vest appear to be the, if you like, fully modular panel design, where all the panels can be rearranged Later on, we do see that the SAS have their own customised version of the ISP vest, which is designed to flow a little bit better with the way they tended to configure their equipment. But these appear to be the what are called the ISP Mark II vests, not to be confused with the Mark II suede vests that we talk about. But the early ISP vests, as I say, were these fully configurable versions. The SAS had its operational needs, and these must have been relayed at some point for a custom batch of vests, which are slightly different and which we'll see in a subsequent video. The other feature here are the helmets, which I don't think are any helmets that we've described or can identify from previous. They could be another pattern of NP Aerospace helmet. There were variations slightly different to the AC900 that's being worn in this period, and they appear to be green. So it could be that these are helmets that have been pulled out for differentiating these soldiers on this particular training exercise, or they could have been helmets that were being trialled. They look a little bit more like patterns of helmet that are in use in Green Army roles, as you might say. But otherwise, the equipment is pretty similar to before, MP5s still being the main primary weapon. Boots on these chaps, again, it's not particularly easy to identify boots on some of these pictures. I have a feeling the chap at the back of the stretcher there might have a pair of GSG9 boots on, just by the look of the soles on the boots as I see it from here. And that concludes this part of our review of reference pictures of the SP team. We'll look forward to joining you for our next video.